Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. And now here's your host, Bobby C.
Hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Want to welcome you here today. Yes, it was a very busy week with lots of tournament teams. Things are off and running for yet another week. And I got to tell you, though, the fall season is winding down as we start getting ready for the winter sports season. But there was some a little disturbing news that happened out of Pioneer at the beginning of last week, and that's where their athletic director, Gina Johnson, was let go by the superintendent of schools. Now, there was a lot of people that were wondering why she was let go, and really, because of the circumstances, there really is no answer at this time of why, except for the fact that one thing that she was doing double roles at that school. But that was because of her doing, not because of the school. They ended up losing one of their teachers to retirement in Barbara Colleen. And with that said, they were able to have Gina Johnson step in to do gym classes as well as being the athletic director. So taking on the two roles, all of a sudden the superintendent of schools decides that he is going to let Gina go from her duties as the athletic director that she's been doing for a very long time at that school. Now, there was a big protest that went on amongst the students later of that week, last week. It was last Thursday that the kids were standing out in front of the school, and they were protesting because they thought that it was a very unfair situation for her to lose her job as athletic director, especially in the fact that she was willing to step up to do dual roles and literally took on another position. And I got to be honest with you, I don't really like the way this situation happened, and the fact that you offer her another job. Now you still can give her another opportunity to have employment, but you took away the duties that she was doing when she first started there. And I just don't think that that was right. The student body didn't think that was right, and they ended up doing their quiet protest that they had at the beginning of the school day last Thursday. So Gina Johnson, no longer the athletic director at Pioneer Valley Regional High School. Well, last week there was some tournament action that got underway for the fall season, and I could say that in girls soccer, it was a tough day for the Pioneer girls as they ended up getting beat by Wacona. Final score was 10-0. So they ended up having a pretty good season though, but it did come to an end. They ended up with an 11-6 record on the year. Just want to say that their seniors were Jordan Hubbard, Jasmine Toronzo, Stephanie Scoville, and Samantha Martinez. Once again, Pioneer Girls Soccer ended up their season at 11-6. Well, the Frontier girls, they ended up having their season end, and it was on penalty kicks. Now, how hard is that? They ended up getting beat by number 6, Mount Greylock, and the final score, because they add how the score goes by the penalty kicks, was 4-1. But really, it was 1-1 after regulation, as the number 11 seed was looking for the upset, and they ended up losing in that sad situation with penalty kicks. Coach Phil Patelli says that he's very proud of his team's performance despite the heartbreaking loss, and another tough year for the girls from Frontier in soccer. But I'll tell you right now, they have some really good talent that they will be losing, especially with Tori Speth, also with Risley and Dankowitz. They really did give a lot to that program. Well, it was a big win for the Greenfield girls field hockey team, and that was back on Wednesday when they ended up knocking off the undefeated Smith Academy. And the final score in that one was 4-0, and it got the opportunity for Greenfield to go to a Western Mass Championship. You know, a lot of good things happened in that game, according to Coach Erin Thayer. She also says that she thought that the kids were playing a little bit better at that time as well. The third-seeded Green Wave going into the Western Mass Championship with a record of 14-5-1 will be taking on number 1 Frontier in a game that we will talk about in just a moment. Frontier ended up beating South Hadley 3-2 in the other semifinal game that happened last week. So a nice job right there by Greenfield and Frontier, two of our locals. They will play for that Western Mass Championship. I do have the details on that game here on our show. The Red Hawks and the Green Wave, they've met the last 4 sectional championship games, while Frontier hasn't won really since back to 2015. So they're looking for that big win against the Wave. Maddie Kacheski ended up setting up Lily Kacklemeyer with 20 minutes and 3 seconds left in the first half. That's where the Wave got their first goal in that game against Smith Academy. Kacheski finished with a goal and 2 assists, a very solid day for her. Also, Amber Taylor ended up scoring a goal, assisted by Kayla Eggswer, and she ended up joining the team from Turner's last year. So with her coming from Turner's Falls to Greenfield, where she is a Greenfield resident anyway, she also was a big help to the Green Wave this season. By the way, I just want you to know that this Greenfield team, they have no seniors on their team, 0. So this whole team will all be coming back next season. And their 8th grade goalie, you got to give a lot of credit to this kid. And Ainsley Flynn is her name. She is only an 8th grader, folks. She has had a wonderful year in the net, taking over for Sam Smith over there at Greenfield. Like I said, 8th grader. Think about this, folks. She still has 4 more years ahead of her as the goalie for Greenfield Field Hockey. Tell you right now, Aaron Thayer has done a wonderful job being able to groom all these younger kids. Lily Kacklemeyer, wonderful athlete. She is only a freshman. So think about this. She still has a lot of years ahead of her. You look back and you say to yourself, wow, what a team and what talent that Greenfield will have coming back next season. Well, like we said, Frontier survives that win against South Hadley, so they advance, which is really nice to see. And, Lilia Roach, she is a very quiet type kid, but boy, her game on that field really speaks volumes of how good she really is. And you know what the cool thing was is that her and Maddie Kacheski were up for the Athlete of the Week, according to Mass Live. So they had the opportunity to have 2 field hockey players from the rival teams up on the board for the Athlete of the Week. Lily Roach ended up getting a lot of votes that week too, and I will say that Lily Roach has really presented herself as one of the dynamic players for Frontier Field Hockey. Like I said, Western Mass Championship should be interesting on exactly how things go between these 2 teams. One woman who really wanted this bad, and she has spoke all year long about wanting a Western Mass Championship, is Olivia Vasilio. And Olivia Vasilio has the opportunity to go to Championship Saturday, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Well, on Wednesday, it was the volleyball team from good old Frontier. We've been talking about them for a long time, haven't we? How about Frontier playing for their 15th straight Western Mass title? But they got to get through a couple of hurdles to get to that, right? Well, guess what? They ended up sweeping Lennox in the semifinal round. They won Game 1, 25-5. Game 2, 25-21. Game 3, 25-20. Now, what does that set up? That sets up Frontier, the number, and this is amazing here, folks. They ended up getting a 4 seed in this. I just can't believe it. But it's literally crazy to me that they didn't get what they were supposed to get. And they end up taking on number 1 Lee. And I will tell you that the matchup, I have the details on that coming up in the show as well. There are a lot of new pieces to this puzzle for this team, and I'm going to tell you something right now. Their coach, Sean McDonald, has been incredible. What he has been able to do with this program is just amazing. Think about this, folks. Playing for a 15th straight Western Mass title for this team out of Frontier. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you have to turn over new players every 4 years or 5 years, because they all start maybe in 8th grade and then they go through and then a new group of kids come in but volleyball, folks, this is volleyball. Yes, we do have the Hall of Fame of volleyball right there in Holyoke, Massachusetts. But for this team every single year to be in the mix, this guy not afraid to play the best teams in the state as all of their special non-conference games is really incredible to me. And what he does is he plays up. That's how he rolls with this team. He says, listen, we're going to play Longmeadow. We're going to play the teams that are the best teams out of the Boston area. That's who we're going to play. And then when they get in the tournament, they're only a small school, so they get in Division III. So they play all these top Division I schools across the state. They end up competing pretty good against them, and sometimes they end up winning those games. And then when it comes right down to it, you get into the tournament, and this team just knows how to dominate. It's because this coach isn't afraid to play the better programs, and that's how you make your kids better. You know, when you end up taking a nice semifinal win and get yourself into the championship against a team that you've already played before, a team that you know well, it makes for a great atmosphere, and we're going to talk about that coming up in just a moment. Want to welcome you to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Want to say a big thank you to the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield. Also by Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue A in Turners Falls, and by Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. So glad that we're able to bring this show to you each and every week. And yes, we really are winding down our fall sports season. And it's been a very successful year for a lot of our teams. And you know, one thing that has been on the question, really it's been a question that a lot of people want to know, is what is going on? What is going on with football in our area? A lot of people are talking about this. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. There was a situation that happened this past week where the Greenfield High School football coach, Mike Kacheski, decided that his team was not going to play this week in their extra non-conference game. So the Green Wave, with losing Turkey Day, losing the game that they were supposed to play this week, and a bye week on the season, really shortchanged these kids. They did not get the season that they were supposed to get. And you know, the one thing that's really irritating to the kids, and I know this for a fact, is the fact that they start their captain's practice during the month of July. So these kids are working out for the football season in July, and all of a sudden, as the season goes on, they end up losing a game for Turkey Day because of the loss of Turners Falls. They have a bye week, so they end up losing that week where they're not playing. And then they end up getting told by their head coach that their season is over. I guess there's been a few injuries, and he pretty much said in a nutshell to the kids, and I quote, this is what he said, he didn't want any more injuries to the players of his team, so he decided that they were going to call the season off last week. So that is what Coach Kacheski told his guys. They turned in their uniforms and their equipment back on Monday on Veterans Day. So Greenfield High School football for the 2019 season is over. And let's talk about who they ended up playing last week. It was that big game they had between them and Mohawk. Now, it was a really rotten day last Thursday, too. Rainy, cold, wet, not a good day at all. But boy, it was a big day for Mohawk up there in Buckland as they knocked off the Green Wave, and they beat them big, 24-6. With that said, it really was a special day for these players. Why? Because a bunch of the Turners kids that play with the Mohawk program had a chance to still play Greenfield, and that was pretty cool. And, of course, they came out pumped up. You know, it's a little bit different, though. It's not the same atmosphere as it is on Thanksgiving Day, that's for sure. But they still had a chance to at least go on the field and take on Greenfield in some capacity. And that's exactly what they were able to do in this one last Thursday. Totally a dominant game by Mohawk in this one as they ended up winning. Matter of fact, you know, I had a chance to talk to Jake Sack, and he said, you know, I just couldn't get any traction. No matter what I tried to do, I just couldn't get any traction at all. So every time that I had the ball, I had nowhere to go. And that's exactly what was really happening. And he was getting bottled up big because of the big offensive line over at Mohawk as well. You know, they got some big boys over there. And when you have no traction, and those big boys, if they can be able to sort of get their cleats dug deep into the grass over there, they usually can hold themselves up pretty good. And Sacker ended up having a tough day as well. Didn't have a lot of yards at all, but between him and Hart not being able to move the ball well, and with Sean Davenport having a great day as a quarterback and being able to throw the ball for Mohawk, it all turned out to be a big day for Mohawk as the Warriors ended up knocking off Greenfield last Thursday night, 24-6. And once again, the season for Greenfield is now officially over. I can tell you, though, there still will be that night before Thanksgiving game that'll still happen between Mohawk and Frontier. So that is a game that is definitely going to happen on the Friday. Honestly, it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Thank you. I got to get my act together here. So, yes, so they will have the night before Thanksgiving game between Mohawk and Frontier. So that rivalry will continue on between those two schools. So they are definitely still playing football this season. But congratulations goes out to a very solid performance by the Warriors. Well, the Franklin County Tech School had a solid game against Pathfinder last Friday night. Easy win for them. They really trounced on Pathfinder. Final score was 42-0. Now, the Eagles, 3-6 on the year, ended up having really a great day offensively. They did well with passing and with running. And as you can see, why wouldn't it be when you put up 42 points? Owen Bashaw ends up opening the drive to a nice pass to Hunter Wozniak. All of a sudden, he connected with Colby Malu for an 8-yard touchdown pass. And there you go, a quick 6-0 lead for the Eagles. Ian McClure, he ended up rumbling into the end zone. And all of a sudden, it's 12-0, the Tech School. McClure running for a couple more touchdowns, one from 26 yards, another from 17. Also, Dante Rosewarren ended up getting a 44-yard scamper, and all of a sudden it was 34-0 at halftime. Well, in the second half, nice opportunity for the Eagles to continue on their drives, and Dominic Bowden-Smith ended up getting a 2-yard touchdown, and there it was, 42-0. A nice solid day right there for the Tech School with a win over Pathfinder. Their season will continue as well as they will be taking on, they will play Smith Vocational as their game. That game will be on Thanksgiving Day. So the Thanksgiving Day game now for the Tech School is with Smith Vocational. So that game will happen on Thanksgiving morning, bright and early at 10 a.m. Well, Frontier ended up having to take on Chicopee, a team they already played earlier this year. They had them against the ropes the first time, and they ended up losing. But this time it was for something big. It was an opportunity for them to go to the Division VII Super Bowl. But what they had to do is they had to get by Chicopee down at Zop Park in Chicopee for their chance to win. It was a very cold and very raw day back on Friday. But unfortunately, it just wasn't the day for Frontier. They ended up really suffering in this one, and it really was sad because they came out very flat. They ended up getting beat 26-8. With that loss, Frontier is now out of the playoff picture, and Chicopee will play for the Division VII Super Bowl. Great opportunity for them. They got to take on a very tough team, though, that has been solid all season long with South Hadley. Well, if you ask Coach Gordon, he'll tell you straight up, we just didn't play well. Offensively, Frontier was never able to establish anything from the line of scrimmage. Matter of fact, their leading rusher, Edo McMillan, pretty much was bottled up all day. He had 8 carries and only 42 yards. That's unlike him. Even Josh Samaski didn't have any better luck either. 6 carries for only 16 yards for him. The Red Hawks ended up passing, and that really didn't go well either because Garrett DeForest was 5 for 16 with only 40 yards. Bottom line, tough night for the Red Hawks. Great season, though, and they still will have that big game the night before Thanksgiving against Mohawk. Well, on Saturday, here you go, folks. It was the big game between Greenfield and Frontier, a Western Mass championship in Division II field hockey. And guess what, folks? It was an unbelievable game. It took regulation and almost 2 overtimes, but the Western Mass Division II field hockey trophy goes to Frontier Regional. They ended up picking up the victory 1-0 under the lights at Roberts Field in Holyoke. The Red Hawks, who had lost 3 straight to the Wave, end up picking up a victory. And their coach, Missy Marhart, pretty much said it the best. You know, this has been a rivalry between us for a long time. It's always fun when these girls go at each other. They know each other well. We sort of know their game plan. They know ours. Well, it really showed that way because look at the score, folks. It was 1-0 in double overtime. Congratulations goes out to Frontier picking up the win. That means that they have the opportunity now to play in the state state semifinals. And they will be playing in the state semifinals. I can tell you that right now. That game will be taking place as we record this show this week. It'll be later this week that game will be played. And if Frontier can win, they will go for a state title. How sweet is that? Well, think about this. If you're a fan of the Frontier sports, what a busy day you ended up having. Because guess what else was happening on Saturday? Oh, the Western Mass Volleyball Championship between Frontier and Lee High School. Well, let me tell you right now, Frontier swept Lee for their 15th straight Division III title. Yes, they did. They ended up winning 3-0 in this one. I got to tell you right now, this team is so fun, and I love these kids, and I think that they have really shown so much throughout the year as a young team, really going through all the changes of losing 5 seniors from last year's team that were all starters for this team. For them to come out and win another Western Mass championship is pretty special. Matter of fact, I am going to be working on trying to get a couple of the volleyball girls and their coach, Sean McDonald, to hopefully join us on this show so we can sit down and talk about how this all works down there in South Deerfield. Because there's got to be some kind of way to make this work each and every time, because you don't just come out and be able to do what this team does year after year unless there's some kind of something going on. And I'm going to tell you the one thing that it really comes down to. It comes down to what they call trust. And people are like, trust? Yeah. You got to trust your coach. And if you can trust your coach and you're willing to buy into the system of how he is teaching everybody how to be able to get better, then doesn't that work? And then you have to trust your teammates that everybody on the team is going to buy in to the coach. And when you got good coaching and you got players who are buying in and you all work together, you usually can get a successful program. And that's exactly what we call this. They're not a team down in South Deerfield, folks. They are a program. When you win 15 straight Western Mass titles, you're a program. You're not considered just a team. And that's exactly what they have down there at Frontier Regional. You know, there's a guy that I've been talking about over the fall season, and then we talk about him in the spring too, and that is a guy who's a pretty special coach here in Western Mass. And not only is he a special coach because of what he does up there in Buckland, it's about what he does as a coach and what his achievements have been to be able to say that he is the winningest coach of all time of any sport in the state of Massachusetts, and that is Joe Chadwick. Joe Chadwick has just done incredible things with his teams up there in Buckland. And I can tell you right now that the Western Mass Division II cross country, Mohawk's Dennis Simmons, he qualified for the state tournament this past week. You know, it was a really chilly weekend, folks. But this kid did great. and he was able to place 14th overall, and by doing that, he ended up qualifying for the state meet. Simmons, what he did is he ended up placing 5th at the Western Mass meet, and what people need to understand about this kid, he's only a freshman. This kid's got a lot of years left ahead of him. You know, the girls' team ended up losing their great runner in Megan Davis, but the boys now have Dennis Simmons, who is really getting things done. And the cool thing is that he was able to make the state tournament. Frontier also had a top Franklin County scorer taking 8th place. That is junior Garrig Brinda. He ended up pacing the finish line. He was 38th overall, but he ended up doing well as he ended up doing good in his particular division, in Division 2. So it's nice because 2 of our locals will be going on to the state tournament. You know, it's nice when you could see that happen. Also, Kaya Sharp ended up crossing the line, and he ended up being the second runner to make it over for the Red Hawks. He placed 45th overall. Brett Robinson ended up 52nd. Also, Alex Carey, 55th. Danny Fellows, also Patrick Boyden and Aiden Gray also did well. They were 58th, 59th, and 60th. Those guys ran as a group at the end. Those 3 guys did finish the finish line, but congratulations goes out to them. By the way, for Mohawk, Dan O'Shea, he ended up 48th for Mohawk. Also, Vincent Gauthier was 73rd. Quentin Romer was 98th. And they all made the top 100 in this one. Got to remember now, there's a lot of schools in the state of Massachusetts that have cross country. The cool thing is the state meet is set for this upcoming Saturday. That'll be in Gardner, and Simmons and Brenda will both be there. Congratulations goes out to them. Also, Greenfield placed 10th as a team with 6 runners cracking the top 100. Eric Badilio ended up being the first wave runner to cross the finish line. Also in there is Matt Conway. Also in there, too, was Gianna Pasiglia, as well as Emmanuel Rosca, Alex Terrell. They're all in there. Nice job, Greenfield. And Noah DeRuiter from Pioneer ended up 76th overall. He had a time of 21 minutes, leading the way for the Panthers. So congratulations goes out to all these kids, especially our 2 runners that will continue on to the state meet in the cross-country meet that's happening this Saturday for the states in Gardner, which won't be too bad of a day according to the weather forecast, especially if you're a runner. Well, the Western Mass Division II Championship ended up leading to another state opportunity for a girl who really joined the team late in the year. She decided that right before the season got started that she was going to run cross country. And a lot of people were shocked, especially Coach Chadwick. And that is one of the best athletes they have up there for females in Grace Poplowski. She ended up doing the home stretch run. She got 7th place, and she will be going to the state tournament this weekend as well. So a big congratulations goes out to her. Another great performance. You know, her coach is very proud of what she has been able to do, and I could see why he would be proud of what she's been able to do. And you know, the team did pretty well. This team was also a team that did well too. How about that they were able to get to the state tournament and, you know, be able to make a statement. This Mohawk program is pretty special, and I just want to say congratulations goes out to all those girls for the great job they did, and a wonderful job by Grace Poplowski, who, don't worry, folks, you'll be hearing that name again a lot during the basketball season, too. She's a very good girls basketball player up at Mohawk as well, so we'll be talking about her during the winter months, too. Want to welcome you to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Yes, we're winding down our fall sports season. I was just thinking about this the other day. You know, the school year is really cruising by. You know, you think about the kids coming in at the last week of August, and all of a sudden now we're almost at Thanksgiving. I mean, we're in the middle of November right now, and we're cruising right along. First quarter's already done for the kids. They're already working on quarter number 2, and we're starting to get ready for the winter season. Want to say a big thank you to the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, Sean Hubert and Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turners Falls, and by our friend Lisa Alber of Alber Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. These four have been with me since the beginning, and I thank each and every one of them for all of the love. Also, the guys that are sitting out back there, yeah, we don't get to see them much, but when we do, they give us all kinds of goofy looks and everything else, and we just want to say hello to John Meisner and Philippe Simone. Two wonderful guys, they really are, and they have done an awesome job with being able to produce this show each and every week. You know, the one thing we can say about these two guys is that they really do care about this community, and why don't you guys come on the set for a second and say hello to everyone. Say hi, give a big wave or something. Oh, there's Philippe. All right, there's Johnny. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Wonderful job. You know, we talk about this being a varsity sports program. Well, guess what, folks? We had two local youth football teams play in a Super Bowl this past weekend. I want to talk about this. And then they had a Pee Wee team that also had a chance to play for a Super Bowl. You know, these are the future kids that are going to be coming up and playing high school football. We can say that we have the Franklin County Bulldogs. They have their team, and then Frontier has their two teams. They are the Red Hawks. And I will tell you that there were two games that were played for our local teams back on Saturday. Well, at 11 o'clock, it all got started in the morning with game number one for the Pee Wees as they took on South Hadley. And the defense was amazing by the Red Hawks. They ended up winning this one 6-0. With that win, they pick up a Super Bowl title. Well, in game number two, right after at about 12:15, it was the Bulldogs taking on the Red Hawks. And boy, what a game that was too. I gotta tell you right now, that game was really good. And it ended up being a 12-8 win by Frontier over the Bulldogs. Bulldogs were leading in this one. Frontier came back with a couple of touchdowns, and they did it in fashion and enough for them to pick up the 10-8 victory. Really could have been anybody's in this one, but a big congratulations goes out to these kids on the hard work that they put in. You want to watch those? You can watch those on the FCAT, on their Facebook, on their YouTube page. So if you go to the FCAT at Frontier Community Access Television, both those games are on there. And Chris Collins and I had the opportunity to be able to do both those games. And we'll get those games up here as well, here on GCTV. So congratulations. Frontier picks up 2 Super Bowl championships back on Saturday in youth football. Well, Frontier, as we know, they won Western Mass, right? That means that they had to play in a game in the state semifinals. Well, guess what, folks? When we were able to start this show, we were able to have some information about this, which I have. And they ended up taking on the Advanced Math, Science, and Math Academy that's located in Marlboro. They're located in Marlboro, Mass, all right? And with that, they had to take on this team down at Tantascwa High School. Well, in that semifinal game, Frontier ends up winning the state semifinals 3-0. Game 1, 25-13. Game 2, 25-18. Game 3, 25-9. Check this out. Frontier's going for the program's 10th state championship on Saturday when they take on Rockland High School. By the way, Rockland High School, they are 24-1 on the year. Frontier, with this new rebuilding program, is going into the state championship at 16-8. But they're knocking off everybody. This will be a noon game that will happen at Worcester State University on Saturday afternoon as Frontier goes for a title. By the way, there was a little bit of a wrinkle in this one for the fans from Frontier compared to the advanced math program. Why? They ended up bringing 3 busloads full of fans to their state semifinal game. And it was pretty much dominated by this school's fans. But it didn't get to the girls from Frontier as they picked up the 3-0 victory. They will once again take on Rockland. That'll be a noon game at Worcester State University on Saturday. Well, there was a girl that played for Greenfield High School. She decided that she wanted to do a PG year as a post-grad over at Deerfield Academy. She had a wonderful year this year as a player of their field hockey program. She has been one of the premier athletes to come out of Greenfield in a long time, and that is Reagan Hickey. And Reagan Hickey, back this week, did a signing of a letter of intent to be able to go play at a Division II college called Stonehill College in Easton, Massachusetts. So she'll be in the state. She will be playing Division II on a nice full boat scholarship where she'll be able to play field hockey for this team. As we all know, she has always been a premier athlete, no matter what she does, but field hockey is pretty special to her. She also a 1,000-point scorer at Greenfield High School as a basketball player, a really good guard as well. Good softball player on the softball team too, playing second base. So she had an opportunity, instead of going to college this past year, she did a post-grad year over at Deerfield Academy, which I think was really smart for her to do. And with that said, she is now going to Stonehill College. So congratulations goes out to Reagan, and we wish nothing but the best in whatever she does in her life, and I know she'll be a big part of that program down there in Easton, Mass. You know, it's getting a little bit tougher these days to be able to have a lot of things to talk about because we are winding down our fall sports season. But before we do put a wrap on the show, I just want to run down some of the highlights that have been pretty nice for us to be able to see. And of course, we've already talked about our championship teams already. We talked about Frontier and their girls volleyball team going to a state title this week. We talked about the field hockey team playing in the state semifinals this week. We talked about how it was a semifinal game for the Frontier boys team. What about the great year that the Frontier golf team had this year? What about the great year that the boys cross-country team had from Frontier this year? You got kids that have been able to do very well. You had the big program that ended up getting joined between Mohawk and Turner's Falls so they could keep football happening. There's just been a lot of really cool things that have happened this year. And I just want to say that we really do have some good sports here in our area. And the nice thing is that a lot of people are very supportive of them as well. And with that said, this past weekend, I had an opportunity to do a special fundraiser for our show, and we ended up having a huge crowd over at St. Kaz in Turner's Falls. And I just want to say that to have 180 people show up to support our event and be able to show the support of this show each and every week, the people who have told me that they love what we do for the community, it's a testament to the hard work that we've done here at GCTV. But I want to also remember a couple of other people that have really been a big help to us, and that is Chris Collins down at the FCAT in South Deerfield. Also, I want to thank Otis Wheeler, who runs the Berniston Northfield Community Television. Also, I want to say thank you to Deidre and also the staff over at Montague Community Television. Of course, we have our staff here, you know, our new executive director and Nick Ring. We also have Ian and Sky, and we can't forget about Philippe and John. And also we got Allie Murphy, our intern, who is helping us out as well. And you're going to see more of her coming up during the winter months because she ended up being part of the field hockey program with Turner's Falls. But she's not going to be doing any winter sports, so we'll be seeing a little bit more of her as the year goes on as well. But it's just this group of people that have all gotten together to make this special for our kids. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of those folks. And really, I want to thank all the viewers. I really appreciate the time that you take every week to sit and enjoy this program. I hope that you're enjoying what we do. And I hope that people understand that we want to try to get as many names as we can in there for the kids. And we just want to be able to congratulate them for the hard work that they've put in. You know, these kids are putting in a lot of effort, and they also have a very big workload that they have in school as well. You know, it's a lot of work for those kids to be able to go in, do their schoolwork, have to go play their sports, and then come home, do homework, and then go back to school the next morning. And they do that each and every day. So to the athletes, to the coaches, to the parents, to the fans, to all of you, on behalf of all of us here at the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, thank you for supporting these kids. Next week, well, I think what I'm going to do next week, I think I'm going to grab Allie Murphy, and I think I'm going to pop her on stage with me, and her and I can have a nice chat about how things went for her field hockey team as the only senior. That means that her whole team at Turner's is coming back. We'll talk about her upcoming season, that how she trains over the winter months getting ready for softball as one of the premier softball players that we have here in the area over at Turner's Falls. We'll also talk about her workload, about what she's doing the dual enrollment program over at GCC. I want to really sit down with Allie and have that talk with her. We'll run down the scores of our championship teams, and that's what we're going to do next week here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. For John Meisner, for Philippe Simone, I'm Bobby C. Thank you, Mark and Linda Snow at the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston. Also to Aaron, Cack, and the staff over at Denny's Pantry. Our buddy Sean Hubert and the staff over at Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turner's Falls, and our wonderful friend Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services and her staff at 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Until we meet next week, thank you so much. And remember, a couple of championship teams for Frontier going for state opportunities here. A chance for the girls. If the girls field hockey team ends up winning, they will play for a state title. And we already know the volleyball team did win. They will play Rockland. That'll be a noon game on Saturday. That game will be played at Worcester State University. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.